I definitely I panicked because also like, because even the decision to spend the second summer in Nantucket was really hard just because like I knew it was going to be good money and I loved it there and I wanted to do that. But that junior summer when everyone else is getting like the internships that are going to give them jobs in the fall, it was really scary. And like having, and just feeling like, oh, I have nothing to offer because my like my summer jobs aren't like this like banking internship or whatever, so like I don't have enough sort of experience to offer on like senior panels and and
you know the funny thing about it too is like research shows that internships aren't much of a good signal either to like employers, unless you stay at the employer, but otherwise like it doesn't always mean a lot because sort of we discount what they are. So it's sort of like even if you had a fancy schmancy internship, hard for an employer to sort of look at that and say, oh gosh, like this must mean X about you.
I literally had been listening to Blue Apron's new podcast and like Mike Koester from Data Central was interviewed. I was like, Data Central, like that sounds perfect for my book, because they essentially write about food trends and like work with Nestle and Heinz and all those companies to help them market. They have this like menu database and stuff, so they're always featured in like a ton of the articles I was using for my book and the podcast. So I called Mike just to ask him questions about like, so what.
You just cold called him?
I think I emailed him and then we set up a time and I was like, can you help me with this book?
But a cold email, right? Yeah. Like just a cold email.
Exactly. And I was like shocked when he got back to me. And then, so then I had a phone interview with him, just literally asking about my book, like what differentiates a fad and a trend, like how does the menu adoption cycle work at Data Central? So he was giving me a lot of really valuable content. And then at the end, I was just like, by the way, that your company is so interesting. Like, do you guys do an internship program or whatever? And he put me in touch with the HR director. And this was all like in the fall and in December. So then I talked to the HR director and she was like, we do internships. I know you're a senior, but like, would you still be interested kind of thing? And I was like, yeah, because this firm is amazing. Like this is like what I'm writing my book on. I would love to work for you kind of thing. And then that didn't work out. It turned out they didn't have any openings for this summer. So then I accepted Hillstone, and then like literally a random day in March, I think, the woman emailed me and was like, we had an opening, you're the first person I thought of.
Wow.
And so then I did an interview with the director, and like that was a really rewarding day in itself because I've never done like an hour-long interview, I guess. Like I was like, I don't know what she's going to ask me. Is this an interview? Like I was kind of confused.
Right.
And we literally just spent an hour like talking about my book. Like she was just like, tell me what you wrote and like why, sort of like what was your process for the BIFL Method and like da-da-da. And then like we literally had a conversation. It was just fun. It was like, because she does what I was writing about. And so clearly we both have this like passion for food and her firm sounded so cool. And so it was just a really fun conversation. And then like that day they were like, we'd love to have you as a summer intern. And I was like floored because I was just like, wait a second, I was supposed to have this free summer of fun. Like I have a job.
Right.
But I was also like, this is amazing. Like I would love to live in Chicago for a summer. And I love this firm. So now I've been able to do both. And like ideally it would sort of give me like two options depending on like which sort of aspect of the industry I decide I like better. But it was just like, that was crazy to me. Like when I couldn't believe that sort of worked out.
I talked about this early on, as I said, and I always sort of talk to authors about this sort of in the process is like, part of the ability for your book to stand out is you have to be able to contribute something new to the thought process. And, I always said like, what's going to be the Sophie method? I think I told you that early on. Remember that? And you were like... That
was a very last minute.
Yeah. And so, but I think in the revision, I was like, I think there's something here. I think like reading it, there's something to it. And to then see you take some of that sort of like suggestions and ideas and turn it into the BIFL Method, like talk about that process. Because it was, you had a book and it was, I would say it was good. I think it's gone to be like something that will be hugely impactful for you because of the depth that you went to it. But what was it like to sort of say, to create something and then to talk about what you created as like a framework to analyze food trends?
Yeah. So I feel like the first half of my book I really loved because that was a lot of like the people part and like dealing with millennials and psychology and like meeting a lot of the entrepreneurs. But then then the second half was like the really like labor intensive part where I was literally just researching all these food trends. And I think you were right. It was kind of like, okay, this is great, but like what's the point?
Right.
And so then once I like kind of laid it all out in an Excel doc, I was like, oh, you're right. Like there are certain things that really apply to a lot of the foods that have been successful or that will be successful among my generation. So that was like, I think the BIFL Method is crucial, definitely. And it's kind of funny that like it's one of those things that came about in like the last couple of weeks or whatever, but in a way that makes sense because it was like I needed to finish everything before I saw you
have to have the base level knowledge to be able to draw the conclusions you drew. And I think that's what a lot of times people stop, they never write and learn to figure out what the so what of this is. And I think to your point, I mean, I'm not sure it's right, but this is my approach and this is what I think about it and how I approach it. And they're like, you're hired.
That's what I think was like incredible, was because I went, like I told you, I went from being like, I have no experience in marketing, I'm not going to get this job, to somehow like this niche company that I never would have known about had I not written the book, kind of. And then being like, why would they hire me given my past but because I had done all this research and been like, here are my findings, and I dedicated my senior year to like writing a book on this, they were like, you're hired. So that was definitely really cool.